Welcome to the King's Podcast, the ultimate guide of film and television. Okay, this is my last episode. So that was not my last episode, but this is gonna be my last one. I'm disgusted with myself. The last quarter of the year 2023 has been a complete dumpster fire. From politics, from the disappointment of humanity, to wars and genocide. It has just been one atrocity after the other. Like, seriously. Like, where do we even go from here? So it does kind of feel weird to kind of look back at this year from more of an entertainment perspective. Look back at the things that brought me joy. Because there's just so much that's happening, that's going on, and my heart is torn, my mind is torn, my spirit is torn, my soul just feels so depleted. I mean, it's to the point where if Jesus decides to come tomorrow, I would not be disappointed. I'm like, Lord, take me. I can't deal with Earth anymore. Humans are too much for me right now. My brain just can't compute humans at this moment. So, yes, we're starting this episode a bit on a Debbie Downer note, but that is what's going on. There's just so much that's happening right now. And I'm just trying my best not to cry myself to sleep and just scream into a pillow. So this is just going to be looking back at 2023 and talking about my favorite things of 2023 in terms of television and films. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about my favorite things, the best of 2023 when it comes in terms of television and film. Here we go. We're going to start with performances. What I believe were the best performances of the year. And the first category will be in television. My personal opinion, these are the best performances. James Marsden from Jury Duty. I've been a fan of James Marsden since the late 90s, since I saw him in Disturbing Behavior, and then he went on in the early 2000s to be part of X-Men. I always thought he was such a versatile actor in everything he has done, and he's really gifted when it comes to musicals. Hairspray. I actually wish he did Broadway. I would love to see him in Broadway. He's done a lot of TV before, Dead to Me, Westworld, and he's been fantastic in all of them. So it's great to see him finally kind of getting the recognition he deserves for his performance in Jury Duty as himself. It was just, the comedic timing was just impeccable. He's just like my fave. Like, I absolutely adore him. And I just loved his performance that he did in Jury Duty. And the second performance I'm going to highlight is Kieran Culkin in Succession. I mean, to tell you the truth, the entire cast in the episode of Connor's Wedding, that episode is going to go down in history as probably one of the best episodes in television. It was just outstanding. I think even in terms of everything I've seen from stage to film, those performances were just top notch. I just go a little crazy when I think about them. But just in general, it was Kieran Culkin who just really took me this final season Succession. Just the complexities he was able to bring in Roman, and I just love Kieran he acts with his entire body, which is so electrifying. And I feel like not too many people act with their entire body. And so it just, you see, kind of, it's almost as if he allows the emotions just to like flow through his veins and then goes on the screen. He's so mesmerizing to watch. And just in general, because just like the Roy family in general are not people I would care for in the real world, but in Succession, I was rooting for them. I loved them, and Karen does such a good job of making us care for a character that basically was a little piece of doo doo. Honestly, another one for me. And then I'm also going to highlight Dominic Fishback in Swarm. What can I say? That is not a show I feel like I'm going to watch ever again. It was just a lot to intake. Like, just the trauma that character went through, and how she was so detached from reality, and how it kind of justified who she chose to kill and why she chose to kill them. And it's not necessarily... These are not the characters that we tend to see Black actors do. We don't necessarily get to dabble so much into the darkness of humanity so much, because there's just so much stereotypes associated with us, and a lot of times we can't really play out these well fleshed out characters, because usually it just kind of goes back to either we're this like the stereotypical villain that they have used to justify the mutilation of our bodies, or we're playing the magical Negro. And so there's not really a place for us to live and breathe as human beings. And seeing this character kind of come to life, a character that usually, characters like these are usually played by white males, and to see a Black female play it, and if for it not to be a stereotype, was so refreshing. I mean, I was terrified of her character and so disturbed after I finished watching it. But Dominic Fishback, I absolutely adore her. I love her and everything she has done. The work she did on this TV show was like on a whole nother level, and she deserves all the recognition and all the praise for it. And the final performance I'm going to highlight is from Jacob Fontaine Lloyd in the Netflix original miniseries Bodies. He plays the character of D.S. Charles Whiteman, or his birth name, D.S. Call Wiseman. My goodness. I just kind of loved in a way, because he was playing sort of like, in some ways he was kind of playing a person who was playing a character. Like, he was putting up a front because he didn't necessarily want people to see who he really was, because he's always been hurt at the time. His character arc took place during World War II, and there was a lot of anti-Semitism, which is something I wasn't too privy about. I wasn't too privy about the anti-Semitism that was in England at the time, because I was just, in my own naive mind, I just thought, England was fighting the Nazis, so I didn't even think that they also had anti-Semitism with them. And so to see kind of this character that is like rising up, but yet he has all these like stereotypes thrown at him, and so much pressure thrown at him because he's a Jewish man, I thought that was an interesting thing to highlight as something that I admit I wasn't as privy to. But how he's able to kind of show this man who's has lost a lot. He's lost a lot in his life. Um, and he kind of persona. He doesn't want people like people in because he's like, well, I might as well just be the person they think I am because they already are label me as all these awful things. And for him kind of going, he kind of goes to this like the trope that everyone loves, like the adoptive father with a like troubled child who takes it in. His relationship he has with this little orphan girl named Esther was so endearing. They had like like watching their scenes together just like warmed my heart. I did not take some spoilers, but there's, things get kind of sad at the end, and all this, he was just a character you just was rooting for, and I loved him and everything he did. And on a side note, the character, was really good looking, so every single time he used to come and screen, like, he just, like, wore those suits to perfection. That's a really shallow note, I must admit. That Jacob's a very good looking man, but the performance was just so good. Everyone was fantastic in bodies, I will say, but he was the performance that stuck with me the most. The one that I was thinking about afterwards. And I wasn't too sure, but it turns out like a lot of other people had the same feelings I did. A lot of people also took to his character and his performance, and loved the adoptive family trope that he had on Bodies. And I will mention, you should check out Bodies too if you can. If you have Netflix, I would suggest you do check out Bodies because it was a pretty good show. But definitely, Jacob's performance was the cherry on top of already in a fantastic show. And now let's go to the best performances in film. Number 1, Charles Melton from May December. Okay, this is so shallow. I hate to admit it, but Charles Melton, my word, that man is so sexy. I have seen so many pictures of him come across my page, and I'm like always liking because he's so attractive. But I've never actually seen anything he's really done. I know he was in Riverdale, but I've never really seen him as an actor so much. So when then I came across like May December, and I was like, oh, he's gonna be in a movie with Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore, and it's directed by Todd Haynes. Is it Haynes? Haynes. I think it's Haynes. Todd Haynes, who directed the acclaimed Carol. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's very different from Riverdale. And I saw the film. His performance was definitely one that it stuck with me. And the reason it kind of stuck with me was just, here was this man, right, in his mid-30s. He has kids that are 18 and another child that is in college. And yet this man is still pretty much a child. There's still like a young, naive 13-year-old boy that's trapped inside of him that hasn't fully developed yet, even though he does have these old, big kids who are all going out. Some are going to college, some are in college. And he's been in a relationship with the mom for, I believe, over 20 years. And it's not a love story, as their characters, particularly his wife, loves to spin. His wife is an abuser, and they don't shy that away from this film at all. It's not like they're like trying to humanize her or anything. In some ways, it's like she becomes like more monstrous to me as the film kind of goes on. Mainly because she's someone who doesn't really realize what she did was wrong. And you see the effects. It's particularly the confrontation scene in the bedroom between him and her, who's his wife played by Julianne Moore. And he absolutely killed it, and in the process killed me, because there were some moments that I just wanted to wrap him up in a blanket and protect him from the whole world, even though his character is like the same age as me. But I just felt like almost like a maternal instinct, like a mother trying to protect this child, because he's been so hurt and he hasn't even gotten to the point where there's no point of healing from it. And Charles did a really great job with his performance. And I'm so happy that he's getting the recognition. And he's definitely someone I want to see get nominated for an Academy Award. So I'm going to be jumping up and down if it comes through and he's nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I'll be so thrilled for him as well, for an Academy Award. And to completely switch, this is also another actor that's also is kind of getting buzz, and that will be in the same category. I have Ryan Gosling from Barbie. Ryan is just such a treat. I was talking with one of my friends, and we both kind of agreed that Ryan Gosling is pretty much a man that was written by a woman. You know how people always joke about, like, everyone's favorite characters are men written by women, and pretty much Ryan Gosling feels like one of those characters come to life. But in Barbie, it was like, I love it when actors, you can see they're having fun with their role, and he was having a blast with his role. There was like a naivety to Ken. There was a bit, he was also someone who was deeply in love with someone who didn't love them back. I can relate. That's happened to me many times before. More times than I like to admit. But he's also someone who has a bit of a hero complex. He's a bit of a narcissist. But also stems from him having so much deep insecurity. And for Ryan to just like pull it off and it to still be fun and campy was just great. Like, he was really the highlight for Barbie for me. Like, I was such a fan of I'm Just Ken. I first heard the song outside of the movie, so I didn't really care for it so much. I was like, okay. When I watched that movie, I'm Just Ken was like my anthem. Like, I just love it. I hope it gets nominated for Best Original Song, because I want Ryan Gosling to perform at the Oscars I'm Just Ken. Like, I will lose it. Absolutely lose it. And then my final favorite performance of the year for a film goes to Jamie Foxx for They Cloned Tyrone. If honestly, do watch that film. That film is fantastic. But I just loved the whole like thing of like energy, like whole pimp energy he had going on. I just really like that. I just really enjoyed his performance. It's been a while since I watched it, so I think I've kind of forgotten all the good. But it was just like the lines, the delivery of his lines, the movement, how he decided to move, and it just was. That was just it. It was just kind of like, you know, when once again, like an actor who's really enjoying themselves and really has grounded themselves in the character and the truth of the character. And it was kind of good to see, because this was like after Jamie had like the episode where we didn't know if he was going to be okay or not. so she couldn't just see him in the clothes time room was pretty special. Before I get to the best programs of the year, the best films of the year, I wanted to talk about my best discovery of the year. My best discovery of this year was this TV show called Elite. And let me tell you how I found it. So I went to visit my cousin and his family around Halloween weekend, and his wife was watching, at the time, started watching Elite. She just wanted to see what it was about. And I started watching with her too. I was like, oh, this seems kind of interesting, but we didn't like conclude. So just when I got home, I decided to watch it, and I became hooked. Hooked! Like, I'm embarrassed to say how fast I went through the first 3 seasons. That's all I was doing. I was completely wasting my life just being absorbed in these lives of these Spanish teenagers. I haven't watched season 4 because from what I read online, season 4 just goes downhill. And this is from fans and critics. So I was like, why am I going to like waste my time when some of my faves are already left the season? And I hear that there's going to be a breakup from one of my favorite pairings. I was a complete Guzman and Nadia fan. Which was so funny because I went in thinking that I was going to be obsessed with Omar and Ender. And I ended up being obsessed with the other couple, which was interesting because I honestly, it's just like one of my favorite things. Because I read a lot of romantic comedies lately because the world is sad and depressing. So the past 3 years since COVID, I've gotten into romantic comedies, and most of them have been in books. Because the films sometimes can be a little too cheesy. In books, it's not as cheesy. I feel that they handle the cheese, just the right amount of cheese, you know? Films, they haven't gotten that ratio yet, the cheese ratio. And so it's just the one where he is supposed to seduce someone, and then he ends up falling in love with her, and it comes back to bite him. It's sort of like She's All That kind of like, oh, anyways. But Elite was my favorite. I am a Guzman and Nadia stan for life. I didn't like that was not on my bucket list, so I was going to have a whole new pairing to ship and go crazy for it, but I am. So that was my favorite discovery of the year, Elite. It gave me immense joy. Immense joy. That was my favorite show. Elite. The first 3 seasons. I have not watched the 4th season. I don't think I'm going to watch the 4th season. If they're going to have a final season, if people come back, I may check it out. If my faves come back, I will check it out and I will watch it. I will be there. Just let me know. Let me know they're coming back and I'll watch it, okay? Thank you. So we're going to talk about the best television programs of the year according to me. So first off, I'm going to do the honorable mentions, the ones that did not make my top 10, but I still loved them. Sex Education. The final season of Sex Education came. I will admit, I didn't love the final season 4, as much as I have loved previous seasons, like particularly the first 2 seasons, but I did not consider it to be such a dumpster fire the way how some other people did. Like, some people hated the final season. I did not hate the final season. I felt that a lot of things concluded naturally, and it felt really, really good to me how it ended. Particularly, I loved Eric's character arc. I thought that was so beautiful. It's so important to show the faith and sexuality aspect. And I don't want to give too much spoilers in case people do tend to watch it. I don't want to say what's going to happen with Eric. But, there were some people who's they're upset because their couples didn't happen or whatnot. Hey, I knew my couple was an Endgame. I was a Ruby and Otis fan. Like, I knew that the creators were too much of cowards to put them together. Unfortunately, they could have been like Joey and Pacey, okay? Joey and Pacey were not originally supposed to be Endgame, okay? It was supposed to be Dawson and Joey. But the fans loved Joey and Pacey. And everyone realized that that was the perfect conclusion for ending of the show. But I knew that my pairing was going to be the endgame. I hope they were going to be, but I wasn't upset that it didn't happen. I thought it was a really good season. And so that was like an honorable mention. If you haven't checked out Sex Education, please do check it out. It deals with a lot of serious matters, and it handles the subject matter so delicately. And it's such a great show. And then a lot of the actors from the show are off doing amazing things, like Cutie. He's the new Doctor Who. Who? Q. What? The new Doctor Who. And he is amazing. I adore him. I adore absolutely everything he does. But, you know, I'm biased. I admit I'm biased on that one. But he has a lot of talented actors. Especially Amy. Oh, I adore Amy so much. Like the character and the actress as well. So much. Yeah. And another honorable mention is Heartstopper, which I've already discussed about earlier in this season of my podcast. And Bodies. I talked about Bodies earlier, about the performances. Bodies is on Netflix. It's basically a time travel murder mystery. I don't want to get too much premises, but it's basically a body shows up during 4 different time periods, and you have to figure out who killed this person. It's great, and it's also like related to a cult. It's great. I really did enjoy Bodies, and when you think you kind of had an idea what was going on, there's just more twists and turns every way you went, which I thought was interesting. I like not really knowing what's happening. I like being like swept off my feet by twists and plot twists. I love that. And then I'm going to also mention Yellow Jackets. A lot of people are like, why is Yellow Jackets not in your top 10? I do love Yellow Jackets, but and sometimes I can feel it got a little too disturbing for me. Like, yes, I mean, I knew cannibalism was going to take place, but it was at the same time, when it did happen, I was like, really? You're really going to just kill this person right now? I mean, the acting is just outstanding. The writing's pretty good. And there's nothing really like Yellow Jackets on TV right now, which makes it kind of special in a way. I like it kind of when a show is kind of, there's nothing really like it. And yeah, so that's one of my honorable mentions I just had to talk about. And this is the only network show on my honorable mention list, and that's Found. It's on NBC, and I believe also you can see it on Hulu and also Peacock if you have those streaming services. And it's about a group of private detectives who have a mission of finding missing people who often get left out in the cracks. So they're usually people that don't get all the fanfare. So there will be people who are either black and brown, they're poor, maybe they had some substance abuse issues. Maybe they have issues with housing. So those are the people they tend to help find. People who, in our messed up society, we don't care about. And Mark Paul Gosselaar is on it, and he's pretty great. It's not really a role we've kind of seen him in. It's a darker role. But, you know, I like it when actors kind of surprise you. Because I always feel like they always feel like really committed to their role. And it's not like he's trying. You know, sometimes when an actor is like gets like typecast. You can see them trying to try hard so people can take them seriously, but it doesn't feel that way. It just comes very natural. It's just he's just playing with a different muscle, his acting muscle. And I've seen him in other things as well, but I haven't. He doesn't really play characters as dark as these. They may be different, may not be as upbeat, but they're not dark. A character that's like in darkness. That's interesting. And my girl Shanola Hampton from Shameless is the lead actress in Found. So do check it out if you have some time. And it just dawned on me that I left out this special TV show that has such a warm place in my heart, Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth is on Netflix. The second season came out this year. And I watched it, loved it, and somehow, for some reason, I think it's just this year. This year has been a little just crazy. I kind of forgot about it. So I didn't include it, but technically Sweet Tooth does belong in my top 10. So I'm just going to start off with mentioning Sweet Tooth, because Sweet Tooth technically is in my top 10. Off the top of my head, I can't figure out where it should be listed in the top 10, but it's in my top 10. So this is not an honorable mention. This is an actual top 10 TV show, Sweet Tooth, that's on Netflix. And drum roll, please. Here we go. The top 10 best television programs of the year. Number 10. The Great British Bake Off. I forgot what season it is, but the Great British Bake Off of 2023. This was actually the first season in a while that I've loved every single contestant. Like, from the first episode, it hurt me when the contestant got eliminated. Because usually you don't, like, form bonds with them so quickly, but you did. And Allison joined as a co-host. To know. And they actually really have great chemistry together. And, but this season was the first season that Paul Hollywood kind of got on my nerves. And which is like shocking because everyone hates Paul. But usually I'm like, okay, you know, he's kind of like Simon in a little bit. But this season I was like, some of his criticism I felt was like too harsh to me and he was getting on my nerves. It was the first time where I was like, Paul, shut up. I was like, took you long enough to read it. That was the first season. I was like, Paul, shut up. I'm not going to say who won in case you're going to want to see. But I will say I was very happy with the winner. The winner was someone who I really adored from the get-go. But I loved everyone on this season. So do check out The Great British Bake Off if you can. And then, number 9, we have The Other Two. This show actually was recommended by a friend of mine who thought I'd be interested in this because one of the lead character is a struggling actor. So it really was interesting to kind of see that comedic approach to trying to get into the business. And the third season, which also happened to be the final season of The Other Two, I thought was great. I laughed a lot. I thought that a lot of things had great resolutions. And the whole premise, before, if you haven't heard about The Other Two, is basically there's this kid who becomes an overnight sensation, think like Justin Bieber. And he has 2 older siblings. And that's why it's called The Other Two. So it's kind of like focusing on them struggling with their brother's fame. Sorry, I just remember something really funny from the show. But yeah, like I just loved it. I really enjoyed The Other Two. I was always cracking up. And then I have Queen Charlotte, which honestly, from all the Bridgerton, I think I've spoken about Queen Charlotte I did. From all the Bridgerton ones, it was actually my favorite. George and Charlotte's love story. Oh, what more can I say? Like, I want someone to say that to me. Can someone just say that to me? Like, can someone just do the whole King George speech to me? like struggle, like basically like stop himself in the middle of something expressing his love for me. Yes, thank you. Amen. And then number 7 is Upload. That's an original song on Amazon Prime. I absolutely adore Upload, and I feel like I could have talked about it before. Um, it's basically in the near future where now humans can basically take their conscience when they dive, and I mean they die. I said dive when they die and take it to live in this like beautiful afterlife. But it's usually just rich people who can do it, and it shows basically is follows Nathan, who goes to live in this wonderful place. So it's Lakeview. Really, it's just I like there's a chemistry between Nathan and Nora. This new season, they're actually a couple out in the real world, and it's kind of interesting, kind of the trials they kind of go through, kind of going from being sort of this kind of long distance relationship to now being in such close proximity. And it's also like takes a strong stance against capitalism, and I'm here for it. But one thing I will say, Nora does this amazing Cameroonian accent that just comes through. I've actually never seen that kind of happen. Like she's trying to make a distraction, cause a like distraction, and she just starts talking in a Cameroonian accent. I was like, to the point where I've actually seen it like pop up on TikTok and Instagram, and yet people are like, no, this person is a dub over, it's a voiceover. They can't believe that there's an actress actually doing it. But she actually does, like the actress is like, and her name was Andy. And she actually does like monologues and stuff on her Instagram, where she's speaking in a Cameroonian accent. Sometimes she does Shakespeare. It's fantastic. But I was a really big fan of Upload, just in general. I thought the Upload has like never missed a beat. I've been watching Upload since like we're in like lockdown, and every single season they have is like a comfort food. Basically, it's like sweet potato pie. That's how Uploaded is. Just absolutely delicious, no matter what season it is. There's something. It's like nothing misses. Like everything just flows. Because some shows you'll be like, oh, that season was whack, that one was better. But also, there's another show like we can tell the actors are having fun with it, and then they get to play the monsters. Because sometimes they play an actor playing another actor, and it's really it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I love it. I love Upload a lot. And then move onwards to what I called number 6, Beckham. This is the docuseries of David Beckham. It was actually one of the best docuseries I think I've ever done. Like, I'm not too sure off the top of my head who worked on Beckham, but I got to see a lot more of David Beckham than I wasn't too privy about his life prior to when he became a football star. I was too young to know about the whole controversy after the World Cup and just how awful the media were to him and how he was able to bounce back up and everything. But I did hear about it, but I was like too young. I feel like I was not really into the football world. I was more into Spice Girls. I was a huge Spice Girl fan growing up. So for me, it was just like, oh, the dude that's like dating Victoria. Then everyone was like obsessed with him because people were really into Manchester United, and when he went to like Real Madrid and all this, so just it shows like from childhood, all the different teams he played and decisions he played in his family life and the scandals, and it was really, really, really good, really good. It was a great series. I suggest you check it out. Beckham, the docu-series that's on Netflix. And my 5th favorite show, we're like halfway through, The Wheel of Time, which is the Amazon Prime one. This is the 2nd season. Particularly, I will say, like, the season finale of the second season was one of the best episodes like I watched this year, and it was actually probably one of like the best like finales I've seen in a while. Was giving me Lord of the Rings meets like one of the best episodes you've seen of Game of the Thrones vibes. Like the excitement I get from watching a Lord of the Ring film or watching, like the prime like Game of Thrones episodes. We will not talk about the final season of Game of Thrones. It doesn't exist. I don't know her. But that episode of Wheel of Time was so good. Like, I was watching, I was like, this is so... I was like, what is... I didn't actually... Funny me, I didn't know it was, like, the finale. So I was like, there was so much happening. And I was like, people were just, like, revelations and amazing fight sequences. And the ending shot of the dragon. And that's not really a humongous spoiler. But because, if you don't really know the show, you're not sure what I'm talking about. But yes. And also a satisfying character death. Ugh. Like, a character that you hated for a whole season, and seeing that character die, I was like, yes! Actually, two. There was two satisfying character deaths I remember, and I recall. And, like, a plot twist where you get introduced to a new character that is gonna, like, set things in motion for a whole new season, be crazier than the last. It was just... Wheel of Time, I meant kind of starts off like slow, and it's a show you have to pay attention to, because there's so many things that are being introduced. You have to know who is who, why they're important, what's going on. It's really great. And I personally think the second season was better than the first season. They did recast a major character, the character of Matt, the second season. I wasn't too sure who he was. I was like... At first, I was like, is this a new character? Then I realized later on they recasted the actor. But what was so unique was how this actor was still true to how the other actor portrayed him, but added his own elements as well. And then towards the end, I was like, you know what? He's actually a better fit. And I didn't think it would happen because I really did enjoy the last actor and all the previous things he did. But the Wheel of Time. Abbott Elementary. I mean, Abbott Elementary has been away from me so long, I forgot that I was like, is it still part of this year? But I was like, yeah, because of the whole writers and actors strike, it's hard to keep up sometimes. But yes, it's just been a while. But yeah, Abbott Elementary is just... It's just so funny. And it's just a great ensemble. There's no small player. Everyone's good. The writing is good. For some reason, I really felt like Jacob really shined this season. The character Jacob really shined this season. And I was not the only one. I see a lot of like fans commenting. They agree. Abbott Elementary has not missed at all. So that's why it's in my top 10 of the best television programs of the year. I then go to another one that was another discovery, The Righteous Gemstones. I discovered The Righteous Gemstones, and I pretty much binge watched the entire 3 seasons. And after it left my life, I kind of felt like I was like, what else am I going to do? What else is going to bring me enjoyment? I had no idea what I was missing. It feels like the Gemstones are like the opposite coin of the Roy family. They're just a lot messier. They're kind of like new money, as opposed to like the old money that kind of going on in Succession, a little tackier, and to do things that are just so problematic, which is just crazy because it's supposed to be like this evangelical family. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh gosh, it's really good. It's hilarious. To the point where I actually have to rewind scenes because I have to watch it again to like, did I just see that? Did that just happen? Did they just say what I just think they just said? Oh my my gosh. And once again, these are not necessarily characters you think in reality you care so much for them. Because a lot of them are like, are terrible. There's only a few that are really good. And the rest of them are just awful human beings, but only a few of them are good. But they're just so ridiculous. Like, how they get themselves in these circumstances and then how they get themselves out of these circumstances, you don't even know. This is just a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for the 4th season. I have no idea when it's going to come out. We're just coming out the writers and the actors strike, so I don't know when it's going to come out, but I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for The Righteous Gemstones, just like I'm waiting for Abbott Elementary, which is supposed to be coming back next year. I don't know. I don't think everything's filming just yet, but I'm waiting. And number 2, Jury Duty, which is on Freevee. Oh my goodness. This show was so hilarious. I cannot take it. And I also just like, it kind of brought me back to like Punk a little bit, but if everyone was in on the Punk and you were the only person who doesn't know, I'm not too sure how they're going to do it. I hope they have another one. I'm not too sure what other scenario they could do that could be as ridiculous as this. They can probably do that with James Marsden, because everyone know now that this is this is just a sketch. But yeah, do check it out. You like, and honestly, it was the reason why I even got onto it, because let me see if I can find, is because I saw stills on Instagram from this person. Let's see if I can get their name. From Evan Ross. Evan Ross, on Instagram is the reason why I got into Jury Duty, because he showed like the clip of like, well, the still of James Morrison saying, "This is the first time in my life I've ever been marginalized," and he's like, "Have you ever felt this way before?" And it like goes up to see the other character's name, or if we can get his name, because it was so funny. Because that's honestly the reason why I watch the show. Because of, oh boy, he posts a lot. So it's probably not going to find it, because it's going to be such a while. Oh no. Oh, it's going to be a while. Hold on. And it goes to Lonnie. And Lonnie is just like looking from James to Lonnie. That was just hilarious. No surprise to anyone. The best television program of the year, according to me, is Succession. I believe I've talked everyone's ear off already about Succession. But yeah, the final season of Succession, from the directing, from the writing, to the acting, to the cinematography, to the editing, it was splendid. I feel like there should be like a masterclass in television about Succession. Succession is just, the way it feels like, it honestly feels like the best Shakespeare play that you've ever watched. And it is like every week kind of comes to life. Like, I can't give more accolades and words of praise for Succession. Like, I absolutely adore that show, and I'm sad that it's gone, but it makes complete sense that it only lasted for the season that it was here. And I'm grateful for that. Now we move on to films. The best films of the year, according to me. I'm going to first do the honorable mentions. Past Lives. It's a beautiful film directed by Celine Song. I believe that you can find it either on DVD, rental. I'm not too sure about streaming services, but I do know that I believe you can rent it. I watched it when I was on the airplane. But it is a beautiful film. It's more of a quiet film. It's tells definitely one of those films, like, I feel like if I was a filmmaker, I would make. Um, the ones that kind of, there's more that's seen in, like, the unsaid than the said. But there's a lot there is, like, said, and, but there's just a lot of quiet moments, where the camera just lingers. So I thought those choices was great. It's getting a lot of buzz during this award season, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Um, I would love for Celine to get some nominations for directing. I haven't seen that so far, but I would love for her to do. Um, and also, I believe she wrote the screenplay, so for her to also get some um acclaim as well, and some nominations and some wins for her writing the screenplay as well. And of course, the actors, I believe, should also get nominated. I thought they were fantastic as well. And then, honorable mention. No way do I think this is the best movie in the world. That's why I said it's an honorable mention. I didn't even put it in the top 10. But The Conference. I talked about The Conference in the last one. But for someone who absolutely adores horror films, and I'm actually currently watching the new Scream films, I haven't watched them, but I do love a really good slasher film, especially one that has a lot of humor and social commentary. And The Conference was just it. Like, I don't think I've ever really enjoyed myself in a horror movie more than I did in The Conference. It was just the beginning. The opening sequence is what sold me on in The Conference. I loved it. I've watched it a few times, and it just gets more fun. The more I watch it, the more I adore it. So it's more of a comfort film. And I do acknowledge that it's not like the best film in the world, so that's why I'm like, yes, it's an honorable mention. And people are like, what? How can you put The Conference with the past lives? And I was like, I'm a woman with variety. I like a variety of things. And so, yes, and I realized that is more of a low bar. But I liked it. That's why it's not in the top 10. And then this lovely Pixar film called Elemental. That movie, I cried like 3 times, and I cried from the very, very, very beginning. Um, it's a story that deals with sort of like immigration, and how and biases, and how we kind of let that hinder our connections to one another. And it also deals with like family and like trauma, and breaking those traumas, and like kind of learning from the past and creating a new future for yourself, and like love conquering all and everything like that. But it was a beautiful story as well, as part also, like, the visuals was fantastic. Like, Pixar never really misses. Elemental was a really beautiful film. Like, I cried like 3 times. I'm not even embarrassed. Like, I'm a crybaby. Like, I get emotional watching stuff. Shoot, I even cried watching commercials these days. So, whatever is what happens. And now let's get into my top 10. All right. At number 10 is a lovely Hulu original film called Rye Lane. It's a British romantic comedy that has like two unlikely people coming together. Because on the surface, they seem like a pair that shouldn't go together. The personalities completely clash. He's more of like an introvert. She's more of an extrovert. He's more in touch with his emotions. She, not so much. And it just doesn't seem, if you look at their exes, they don't really seem like they're each other's types. But as the day go on, you can kind of see how they actually mesh really well together. And then there's a really cute cameo by Colin Firth where you're just like, wow, him just having a little cameo in here. But he's like one of the kings of romantic comedies, so it's kind of giving like a nice little nod. But do check out Rylane. I really loved it. It was funny. It was sweet. And it was also well shot. I thought the characters were interesting and realistic too. You know, even though sometimes they may be in situations that may seem to be surreal, but there was sort of this beautiful grounding to them as well. So please do check out Rylane. I think I mentioned it just in passing, but just so briefly. But it's on my top 10 list of best films I've watched this year. Number 9 is The Burial, which is an original film on Amazon Prime. I believe it stars Jamie Foxx and Tommy Lee Jones. And it's based on a true story of a man who like sued sort of like an insurance company. And won. And it's basically these companies that are like too big for you to sue, but he managed to sue them anyways, and he gets like a big shot lawyer who doesn't really deal with cases like his, but takes him on, believes in him, and kind of realizes that there's a lot bigger hands in play. It's more than just this company suing off this one guy. He's suing off countless other people like him. It's great. I thought it was funny. It was actually it was an interesting film, to say the least. You know, because a lot of times films of this nature kind of sugarcoat things a little bit, and I wouldn't say it felt that way so much. It didn't feel so much like that. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest at all. But do check out The Burial on Amazon Prime. And at number 8, we have another Amazon Prime original film, Totally Killer, which I've talked about before. Once again, I'm a huge fan of slasher films and 80s films and comedies, and this joined everything together. And I've already kind of talked extensively about Totally Killer, why I believe you see it, but it's number 8 on my list of the best films of the year. Number 7, John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick would have been higher if it wasn't so long. The film towards the end just felt like it was so long. I was like, why is it taking so long? But the style of it, like for me, like the art direction and the cinematography were, I think, my favorite. There were just some sequences, particularly in action films, that you don't necessarily see, particularly this overhead shot. There was an overhead shot where he was like, John was going in different rooms. So you don't really necessarily see it. It felt almost like a video game, right? It's like overhead. You see him entering from different rooms. Because usually you see it like, it'll be like on his face enough to do like a whole overhead where you see the entire room, like different rooms and different other rooms. Like it sort of like looks like a floor plan, right? And you're just kind of like going along with it. So it was fascinating to kind of see the directorial choices they did. Like just the fight sequences were, no pun intended, executed so brilliantly. There's one scene where a character basically like crawls while stabbing someone. It was just kind of like basically like climb this person like a tree while stabbing them. It was like insane. Absolutely insane. It was good. Like I feel as if John Wick is better than just like the average action flick. That's why it gets so critically acclaimed. And it gets better with each one. Like the first one was okay, you know. The second one was like, whoo. The third one was like, whoo. The fourth one was like Hallelujah choir, praise. This is like people say, damn good theater. Like, I think I would have enjoyed seeing it in the cinema, but I didn't get to see it in the cinema. I watched it at home, which was good because I get really into the films I watch, so I'm like really like enjoying myself, like jumping up and play fighting. So you can't really do that. I'm really respectful when I'm in the cinema. Like I clap appropriately, scream appropriately. I'm not like yeah, because that would be too extra. So I go extra at my house. And John Wick was definitely a film I went extra. But I want to talk about the club scene in Germany because those people, they were just amazing. A whole fight is going down. People were getting shot, people were getting killed, and the people were just dancing the way like nothing phases them. It was like the funniest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Because it sounds like someone breaks a glass bottle. I'm like, what's that? They just didn't care. It's just like another reinforced, like, I really, really want to go clubbing in Berlin. I hate clubbing, but I feel as if you're going to club, you should go club in Berlin. Like, you only live once. Dance in Berlin. In number 6, they cloned Tyrone. I believe I've spoken about, I spoke about that clone, Tyrone. There's not too many films like this when you see a film that is still, in many ways, still rooted within blackness, but at the same time is having black bodies in spaces that are usually not there. Like, we're very limited in the genres of science fiction and horror. We're always like kind of as the supporting characters. So then when we take control of like the vehicle, it's always so exciting, especially for me as a child who grew up watching horror and sci-fi and never really seeing myself represented on the screen and definitely not behind the screen, to get chances to see films like They Cloned Tyrone. It means the world to me. I'm a big fan of all the actors involved. Acting wise, and it was just an original film. Wasn't like a reboot or anything like that, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And number 5 was Barbie. Yes, I was one of those who really loved Barbie from the first moment I set in. But as to tell you the truth, I had a feeling I was going to love Barbie from the time I saw the trailers. And I kept on hearing people talk about all my friends, and they just loved it. They were like, it's a fever dream. I was like, it was a fever dream and more. It was so good. And what I loved about it, it was like unapologetically feminine. Because a lot of times, particularly with like big budget films, I feel as if they kind of feel as if they have to cater towards like sort of the male gaze or masculine gaze in terms of to gain bigger audience. And this film didn't. It stood firm in like sort of like the feminine energy, like everything you think about when you think of femininity, like the pinkness and everything. And it didn't hide from that. And I appreciated that. And I loved the fact that a film like this was so successful. And I mean, my biggest criticism about Barbie, once again, I I'm just saying I enjoyed Barbie for what it was. Is that they didn't really discuss intersectionality. Like for them, the whole problem with the patriarchy. I'm a black woman. My biggest problem is white supremacy and dismantling white supremacy. That's not something that's just talked about. So, in the end of the day, it still kind of came from. It's a great film, but it's still coming from this like white feminist gaze. So it's very limiting. So it's just like, oh yeah, yay, girls, woohoo! But it's like not really taking into account whiteness and all whiteness encompasses how white supremacy is part of the patriarchy, capitalism, heterosexism. It's just everywhere you breathe is all connected. And for them not to really talk about that was kind of like, okay, all right. But I enjoyed Barbie for what it was. For what it was, I enjoyed it. I thought Greta did a good job. I'm a big fan of Greta as a filmmaker. This, I will say, was my favorite film she's directed. Some other things I've seen, I'm just like, that was just okay. But I'm really happy that you're getting the success you deserve. But other than that, most of the time, it's like, that was just okay. But I would say I really enjoyed Barbie. For those like a big blockbuster, Barbie kind of was it. Yeah. I mean, I had my issues with it, but I love Barbie. And what could have beaten Barbie? Well, Joyride. Joyride. Oh man, I'm so pissed that Joyride was not a commercial success. I'm not too sure if they should have done differently with advertisement. I'm not sure if the advertisement wasn't enough or whatnot. Because Joyride was probably one of the funniest movies I've watched in a really, really long time. It also kind of, I think it dealt with a lot with what some people sort of being. So, for me, I'm someone who didn't grow up in countries that I'm from. And this has to do with my family was displaced through coups and wars. And so we've moved a lot because of that. And so I never grew up in the countries that I'm from. And so a lot of times you find yourself trying to find connections, trying to find a connection here in the United States, trying to find connections in Liberia, and sometimes feeling as you don't really fit in anywhere. And I kind of felt some sort of like similarities with some of the characters. And for this, the main character was just her, was played by the actress Ashley Park, was just trying to like reconnect with her roots. She's someone who was adopted, and she loves her family, and she's trying to like move ahead, but she's just always kind of dealing with a lot of racism. And it's like, I call it like liberal racism because I feel this is what happened. I feel like a lot of people who claim to be liberal and progressive are not really aware of what they're saying can be perceived as being racist because they just don't know. They think they have it all together, but then they will say something to you. You're like, what in the world did just come out of your mouth? Like, what? And it's just like, it's just really, it's really ridiculous. And so that's a lot of things that you could see she was kind of dealing with. And trying to like find out who she was, and I just love it. It was like also about like sisterhood, friendship, love, like platonic and romantic love at the same time. It's like, do check it out if you can. Joyride. I loved everything about that movie from the start to finish. Probably gonna watch it again. I'll watch it again like many, 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 many times. It's a really, really funny movie. And then number three, The Blackening, which I've discussed at length. That honestly, like, as soon as I watched The Blackening, I was like, I love this movie. I love this movie. And I just found out there's going to be a sequel. I'm like, shoot, I may just slide into like the writer's DMs and be like, are you casting? I would love to be part of it. If they hire me, that'd be great. I think that'd be a great addition to The Blackening. And number two, no surprise, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I hope this film gets picked up for Best Picture and it's not just Best Animated Feature, because it honestly was one of the best films I watched this year and one of the best films I watched in probably the past 5 years. I was pissed off with the ending because I wanted some more. Even though I realized it was like not short, but still, I was like, I wanted some more. I wanted the story to continue. The animation, the musical of the sequence. I guess I could say the score. The voiceover acting. Hello, Oscar Isaac. Oh, I love that man. On a shallow note, I do. Uh, it was just, it was just like one of those like films that kind of like sits with you. And Miles Morales is my child. Like I don't want like a single hair like touch on his head. I want him to be fine and safe. And that's all I want from Miles. I just want him to be safe. But we shall see when the next one comes. I'm not too sure when the next one's coming out. Like, everything's just, like, all backed up because of the writers and the actor strike. So, I'm not sure. But it's definitely coming out. I hope this film is going to be on the market. Not, like, for the film, because we're getting to the award season. I think the first time I've been more excited for award season in many, many years. I've kind of been, like, not caring about it since COVID. But it's like the first time I was like, I need to look forward to something. And I guess there's a lot of films and actors that are getting like Oscar buzz. So I'm getting excited about it for the first time in like 3 years. And my favorite film, the best film of the year, according to me, is Nimona, which I've talked about. Nimona. Isn't it interesting? My top two are all cartoons. What can I say? But I will say they were actually really good. They like exceed from just being like animation, okay? In terms of storylines, in terms of visual effects, in terms of everything they did. But the crazy thing is like, thinking about Nimona just makes me think about everything that's going on in this world. And just how truthful it is. How sometimes you can't trust the people that are your authority figures. It's how sometimes you can be lied to from the time you're young and led to believe something's a monster that isn't a monster. And you always want to know, like, and then you create barriers in between each other. And they're told that there's absolutely nothing beyond the barriers except death, which turns out to be, like, a lie. And so it just feels like the movie couldn't have come out at a better time. But check it out, Nimona, I'm telling you. Just like that in the Hunger Games, I feel like you're just watching and be like, wait, this kind of feels like, wait, what's going on right now? But like Nimona, that's probably one of my favorite love stories of all time. And also some really good voiceover work. Once again, so those were my best films of the year, and I'm just going to repeat them again. Nimona, number 1. Number 2, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 3, The Blackening. Number 4, Joyride. Number 5, Barbie. Number 6, They Clone Tyrone. Number 7, John Wick Chapter 4. Number 8, Totally Killer. Number 9, The Burial. And number 10, Rye Lane. Those were the best films of the year, according to me. Now, there's a lot of films I still have yet to see. And I feel as if I saw them that probably could have been in my top 10 list. Some have not come out yet. Those ones that have not come out are American Fiction is coming out very, very soon. I want to see it. I have a feeling that it's going to be my top 10. Revised top 10. I have a feeling it could be. That and Dream Scenario. Well, not Dream Scenario, so my bad. Origin. Origin has not come out yet. I'm hoping. I love it. The trailers look really good. Migration. From the moment I saw the trailer of Migration, I always thought Migration was coming for Thanksgiving. No, it's coming out during Christmas. Of course, I'm going to be out of the country and Migration is going to come out. It probably would watch my revised top 10 be Nimona, Spider-Man, Migration. It's just going to be nothing but cartoons. That would be hilarious. But who knows? Who knows where things may change. I also want to see The Color Purple. I watched the original film directed by Steven Spielberg. I saw the Broadway production, which this film is based on. Fantasia was on theater at the time, but I believe and when I saw the play, it was her understudy. And Shaka Khan was there that day as well. The film looks incredible. Everything I expect out of a musical and more. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited for people to be reintroduced to Fantasia. I mean, for us, I'm talking about us Black folks, she's never left. She's always been here. She's been going on tour, releasing music. We know she's still around, but people getting reintroduced to her as a actress. I'm really excited for her. This is her moment to shine. Her stylist has been on point. I've been following her on social media. Every single outfit she's done has been incredible. I've loved everything. So those are the films that have not come out yet. I really want to see American Fiction, Origin, Migration, The Color Purple. The films that are playing right now that I have not seen, Saltburn, that looks really good. I'm hoping I like it. I hope it's not a film that I want to see and I get disappointed. Because that's happened to me several times. A film, I see the trailer and I'm like, I want to see this film, and I'm disappointed. I feel nothing after seeing it. Dream Scenario, that stars Nicolas Cage. It seems so unique. And I think a lot of times I feel like a lot of films don't feel that unique, and Dream Scenario actually feels so unique. But A24, honestly, it's one of the best production companies I think ever. And then there's also Lo Capitano. It's an Italian film that I just read online actually got distribution rights in the United States, which is going to mean it's coming here and to be playing in American cinema. It's about these a journey of migrants coming from, I believe they go from Senegal all the way. I think they're trying to make their ways to Europe. We see all these horror stories of all these migrants dying in sea, and just the exploitation they have, people exploiting them, their need to try to get a better life, and stealing their money and their lives being stolen into slavery. You hear all these horror stories, and this seems as if it's a film that's humanizing the experience. I would have loved to it not necessarily been done by a European, because I feel as if there's still kind of this like white savior complex when you kind of get behind the camera when you're telling films like these and stories like these. But from everything I've seen from the film, it seems as if the director has been very sensitive to the subject matter, and he's handled it very delicately. And I trust his vision wholeheartedly, and I'm really excited to see this film. I really hope I get to see it in the near future. And then also other films I have not seen that I wanted to see that I was really excited. I was really excited to see Next Goal Wins. um, but I'm kind of a little boycotting director right now. But I mean, not. I mean, yes, a little bit. And Wish by Disney. So this is a Disney original film, not a Pixar animated film. I've heard like mixed reviews for it. I was really shocked that it was like panned and it's not doing well at all. I feel it's also because people are kind of boycotting Disney right now. Even though Disney is like scratching their heads to figure out why their recent films are not doing well or they're disastrous at the box office. It's because people are boycotting you, honey. And you know why. But it was a film that I wanted to see, Wish. I also want to see Renaissance, the Beyonce film. I got to see Beyonce in concert this year. And I haven't seen Beyonce live since her album 4. And Beyonce is just at the top of her game. There's no other current artist that is parallel to her in terms of her artistry, her vocal ability, her showmanship. Beyonce is just it. The film looked really good. I've heard really great things about Renaissance. I have my feelings about Renaissance. And it's more about sort of disappointment I've been feeling with Beyonce and celebrities at her caliber and their silence. Their absolute silence, where thousands of people are being killed. I don't know anymore. And once again, as you see, I'm ending it on a downer, but that's just where your mind goes these days. Those are the films that I have not seen and I wanted to see. But those were basically my favorite things of 2023, the best of 2023. Of course, my list is going to be different than the critics and whatnot, because I want to like things, include things that most critics are not going to include. I can guarantee you, no critic is going to say in their top 10, the film Totally Killer is going to be in their top 10 list, but it's in mine. Nor would they be like the Great British Bake Off with their favorite TV show of the year. No, they won't say that. They're too bougie for that. I'm not bougie for that. I love what I love. I watch what brings me enjoyment, which scratches my curiosity. And these days, you have to find joys where you can find them. You know? So, as we go into the holidays, I just wanted to make sure everyone's taking care of themselves. They're safe. I want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah if you celebrate, a Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and a happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate, and a happy winter solstice if you celebrate. And just happy holidays, everyone. Please be safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body. There's a lot of viruses going around, so make sure you take care of yourself. I got struck by one, so that may not sound that perfect. So just take care of your bodies, take care of your mind, take care of your heart. And mostly, don't forget what makes you human and what connects all of us all. Right? That's all, folks. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope that my little podcast made you a little bit happy. If you have enjoyed this episode, make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you really love it, go ahead and share it with anyone you think may enjoy it as well. And I've got to go because the wrap-up music is coming out right now, and I didn't really have time to thank all the people I had to thank, but gotta go. God bless.